Right then, guys, welcome back into the Spooky Shed, your go-to place for conversations around all things weird, scary, and of course spooky. Happy Halloween. Today is Halloween when this episode comes out, so we've got a very special one today. I've got a brilliant guest with me today, so we have got JJ Rose in the shed. So JJ, welcome into the shed. How are we?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. Getting cold over here now, so the hoodie has come back out, so because in this shed there is only two temperatures, fucking boiling or fucking freezing. There's no in between. I think I've had one day in here where I've not been shivering or sweating.
Well, I will try to warm it up for you.
Happy days, because that heater I've got is useless.
Yeah, I'm a little more effective.
Right, as you know, I always start off by asking my guests to leave something in the shed, so I'm definitely intrigued for what you're going to leave, so what have we got?
All right. Well, first of all, your shed is a bit packed, so I don't want to add too much, but if you wouldn't mind me dropping off something giant, I would love to drop off hateful ignorance in your shed.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, good. I mean, my other option was peas, so
Peas?
I just really don't like them.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I quite like peas. What's wrong with peas?
I don't enjoy them.
Mushy peas I agree with, but like just normal peas are fine.
I'm good.
I mean,
More
it
of a
didn't have to be
garnish
something
than a
bad.
fruit.
It could have been something good.
I mean, I've already put the good in the shed, so, I'm trying to bubble and protect this episode, so no nasties get out in the world.
Fair enough. Right then, so as today is Halloween, obviously we have to talk a little bit about Halloween. So I want to start off with, because I probably should know more, but I mean, I know for a fact you do, where Halloween all started, because for some reason in my head, and I'm pretty sure that I remember this from a friggin' one of the old Scooby-Doo movies, that, because you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but in my head, Halloween started because it was like the end of like being able to farm stuff or something. I don't know, like the end of harvest or some shit. Or am I just making stuff up here?
No. So the main issue that we have, right, with all the information that we're given is that everything comes through a whole bunch of filters as to what they knew at the time and then what people kind of fill in the blanks. And yes, in the Northern Hemisphere, we are in the middle of fall. This is technically harvest season, right? But if you want to go back in time when the world's access was a little bit different, there wasn't exactly right now being the time for harvest. So in reality, Halloween is a very, very old tradition. And obviously it comes more from your side of the pond than more of mine. We just adopted it and decided to, make a completely commercial line out of it, as Americans do with everything. But it really is an energetic time in which you have the veil between the worlds that it gets very thin. And this happens at Halloween. And it also happens May Day. And unfortunately, a lot of the genetic memory of May Day has left us because we don't know what happened in those older and more ancient cultures. We just know that we celebrate May Day, but we're not 100% sure why. And I also kind of find it interesting that, planes and boats will issue a May Day when they're in danger. And for a lot of cultures, this time, Halloween, as well as in May Day, it was a time in which you had to be very vigilant. Because the veil between worlds was so thin, things could pop through, which is why we have lots of lights during this time, or bonfires, right? You want to keep it very light to spread that light out and ease the darkness, not appease the darkness, sorry. You want to ease the darkness. Costumes really come from scaring what scares you. If you dressed up in a costume, they would either think you're one of them or they wouldn't mess with you because you freaked them out.
Right.
And them being the different spirits.
Yeah, that's very weird, because I've never known, but like May Day's always confused the hell out of me.
Yeah, most everyone I've talked to.
I've never known why it's a thing.
And the whole maypole thing of everyone walking around putting the ribbon, it's a binding ceremony.
Yeah, it's just one of them things that just confuses me. I mean, it doesn't take much to confuse me, like, but so is Halloween and All Hallows Eve the same thing?
Yes-ish. All Hallows Eve really, I mean, I am a solitary, all elemental, eclectic white witch. So within my traditions and older traditions that came well before me, and even the people that came before human beings, they all knew about this cyclical time in which the veil would thin. And so there were different traditions to celebrate that.
Mm,
But All Hallows Eve technically was basically, it used to be called Devil's Night in the 18 and 1700s because basically kids would get up and be mischievous. It was a night when they kind of got a pass to actually be kids and not have to be so serious because a lot of the older cultures during that time frame, you only spoke when you were spoken to. Kids were supposed to be seen and not heard. So it was finally a night where the kids could go out and, create a bit of trouble and not have too bad of consequences. Unfortunately, young boys being young boys, would start fires and all sorts of nonsense. So it got a little bit much. They had to rein that in a bit.
yeah, well, I found out recently you guys over there actually have Mischief Night as well the night before Halloween. I genuinely thought that was our thing. I was almost a little bit annoyed because I was like that's our thing. Like we're good at that. You get Halloween. You get the better version of Halloween. Let us have Mischief Night at least. But
To
then
be
again,
honest,
I would imagine that we probably do much worse things on Mischief Night compared to what you guys do.
I mean, it depends, You have to remember, America's a fairly young country, and
Mm,
so most of the stuff that we celebrate here, we just I don't know what the proper term is, but as the kids say, we basically bit off of other cultures and other countries in order to
mm,
adopt your things and then switch them a little bit to make them money makers and then brought them over here. So, it doesn't surprise me that All Hallows Eve ended up coming over here. Again, we also had the Puritans here from the
yeah.
1600s, and that was just a really rough culture. They were so wound up and tight that these children just needed to let loose. So it doesn't surprise me that they would finally give them a pass. It wasn't until they started burning down buildings and actually harming people that they would rein it in, which is also why trick or treating got brought over here because it was a way to appease okay, we're just going to let them walk around and get candy. But trick or
Mm.
treating actually came from your neck of the woods because there were a lot of orphans and a lot of poor children. And what they would do is back in the day, in order, you were supposed to pray for the dead. And a lot of people didn't have time to keep doing that. They didn't want to. So these orphan children would come around and they would basically say, I'll pray for your dead one for a treat. And they would give them these little cakes and things. And then the kids got to eat. And then the kids would go sit in a graveyard basically and go pray over other people's dead. And that's how trick or treating started. And then of course, over time, people were like, hey, we got to keep these kids busy. So let's dress them up and just let them march around. And so it was a real big hybrid of how to solve these small little problems using these older traditions.
Yeah, that's it. That's interesting because I never knew like where trick or treating and stuff came from. So there's another new thing that I've learned. That's definitely interesting.
Well, in the Hispanic culture, they have Day of the Dead, which is
Mm,
technically on November 2nd, which is an actual day. Like around here, if you go to a cemetery on that day, it is filled to the brim with people. People come out, they bring food, flowers, candles. Everyone sits around the grave. They pray, they talk, they do a lot of, memory sharing. There's beautiful altars that are done up in people's homes if they're not able to make it to the cemetery. So it's a very loving time to remember those that you love that have passed. But again, that all comes from somewhere. So when you go to older times, people would go to the cemeteries and they would sit sometimes on a daily basis. It was different back then, right? And
yeah.
I also feel that was their way of working through grief is, okay, I can go and sit down with, dear old grandpappy who's in the ground and just say hi and talk to him about whatever.
Yeah. It's strange because, like you say, I mean, even just from what I remember, obviously we have a graveyard here, and like I remember as a kid, like
I would hope.
you'd always see people in there, but you don't as much now. It's weird. And that's what I mean.
You
Like, I
don't.
mean, I'm only 33, so just in
Yeah,
that
and
time.
it's getting less and less, and
Mm,
I feel like a lot of that is because people are so busy.
mm,
Um, and a lot of the older traditions are just being done away with. People don't care as much. And unfortunately, a lot of that too is because of the world that we live in right now, and death being something that of young people, unfortunately, are faced with that on a daily basis.
yeah,
Not knowing, if I go to school, am I going to come home? If I go to the store, are we going to make it home because of all the atrocities and war and heinous acts that have been done? So you almost get this nihilistic attitude, which is, well, why would I mourn them? At this
mm.
point, like, I'll join them one day type of a thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, I don't think it's a case of not caring as much. I think now people, like you said, people sort of just deal with things like different ways. Like my granddad's a great example. Like because my mum takes my nana to my granddad's grave basically once a week. Yeah, I genuinely can't
Mm.
remember the last time I went, but
Yeah.
I don't feel bad about it because I see him every day because I have a picture of him at the top of my stairs. I think about him every day. So to me,
Yeah.
that's enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I need to go there and yeah. It's just
Yeah.
personal preference, I think.
Well, it's that. It's also being busy. I mean, we have
Mm.
much busier lives now than, I mean, think of what life was like before TV.
But yeah, true.
You worked, you came home, you played outside, or you did anything other than sit around. And then you ate dinner and you sat by the radio and listened to whatever was going on. And then you went to bed.
Mm.
And we're so distracted now. We have technology everywhere. I mean, you can Bluetooth to your fridge at this point. We've hit a certain level of technology, people. Knowing
Yeah.
that and just kind of thinking about how busy and preoccupied we all are, it makes sense that we're not all doing the things that our elder generations would. And
Mm.
even they aren't doing a lot of the things that they were doing anymore.
Yeah, so it's like I say, it's just time, isn't it? And obviously, everything changes. So one more thing with Halloween, then. So because it's always confused me because I only found out recently because well. Basically, I mean, like jack o' lanterns or jack o' lanterns, jack o' lanterns, whatever the hell they're called. I can never say it. Oh, because I always used to think purely because of like TV and films and stuff, I always thought that it was supposed to be a pumpkin. I remember when we were a kid, we always used turnips. But I only
Yeah.
found out recently that it is supposed to be a turnip.
Well,
Is
it's
that
not
right?
necessarily supposed to be, right? It's just that it
Right.
was.
Right.
I don't think your area is as ripe for growing pumpkins as
Mm,
ours. Our soil's a bit different depending on where you're
mm,
at in the country. Turnip, again, you also have to think about everything that was done had some semblance of a reason, right?
mm.
Turnips probably weren't, I mean, they were food, but they probably weren't the primary on everyone's most delicious list. So that's why they got used in order to be kind of gored out. They're also really solid. You guys have a lot more wind and weather, especially from where I'm from. We have no weather. And so therefore it was very sturdy. It could handle that candle. It wouldn't burn, all of that good stuff. So it made sense. Over here, I think I've seen a turnip at a store like 3 times in my entire life. They're not common. I finally found, and I actually enjoy them. I love vegetables though, so I'm not a little oddball. But I finally found a restaurant who does deep fried turnip chips, and they're fantastic.
Mm.
With some chipotle aioli.
Yeah, because something I should really know because when I'm not in here talking about all the weird things in life, I'm a chef, and I still don't know the difference between a turnip and a swede.
And a what?
A swede. It's basically the same thing, but they're different apparently. But the taste and look the same. I think the only difference is one's a bit smaller.
I have never heard of that before in my entire life. Now I have to Google. I've
But
never
they're
heard of that
literally the same thing.
vegetable.
I think it's like when you get like an orange and a tangerine.
So it's like a smaller version of
It's the
it.
same thing, it's just smaller, I think.
Is it like a parsnip?
No, 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 it literally looks like a turnip. They look exactly
Huh,
the same, it's just one's smaller. I can't remember which one's the smaller one and which one's the bigger one. I think the
how
turnips are bigger.
interesting. So are there any like special meals that you guys find preparing during this time of year for Halloween? Are there still
Not
food
really.
traditions?
No. Like all the coffee shops and everything all go mental for like pumpkin spice fucking coffee and shit like that. But apart from that, that's
Okay,
about
well,
it.
that's become an industry now. So
Yeah, I know.
I love pumpkin everything, but eventually you need to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah, because I was saying the other day, weirdly, like when I was a kid, and we used to like say when we go trick or treat and stuff, and used to carry a turnip round on some string with a candle in it. I must have looked mental because when with a candle in it, I used to like the smell of it. So I used to just walk around smelling the thing.
Oh, how nice. Yeah, so we don't walk around with jack-o'-lanterns here. Pumpkins
Mm,
are a little bit bigger, but, they have the
yeah.
plastic pails that look like one that the kids fill up
Mm.
with candy. I mean, pillowcases are really making the rounds again. I love it. I had one kid pull up with, like, a garbage bag one year, and I was like, "Now you are
So what's Halloween like for you then? What are your plans? Do you have any traditions or anything that you do every year?
I do. So Halloween for me really starts in, like, July.
Nice.
Well, I mean, technically it's all year round. My house is always decorated all year round. Starting in July is when I start kind of breaking out the pumpkin spice stuff. I do a little baking. I call it my preamble to fall. It's usually because it's really, really hot during that time of year. And so like I'm wishing for fall. So like I'm probably trying to manifest. But it is interesting because the leaves started falling this year in August, which is
Mhm.
very early. Normally, that doesn't start until late September. So I'm definitely noticing these big earthquakes we've been having around the world are tilting the Earth's axis just a bit. So our weather's getting a little wonky. But, usually I'll start I love Gothic poetry, I love Gothic writings, and so I usually bust out some of my books on that, little Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft. A lot of people don't know Sir Arthur Conan Doyle actually did some short stories that were a little spooky. I'm
Mm.
a huge fan of his, everything he's ever written. And then, the cartoons and the movies and stuff like that. And then I start the decorating, usually in September. And in September, I also start hitting up the pumpkin patches right as they open because I like to get there before it gets all picked over. And I love there's all these new hybrid pumpkins that are coming out. I mean, technically they're gourds or they're squash, but they're big
Mm.
and they're beautiful. I got one this year. It looks like a cupcake. It's adorable. I can't talk enough about it. I'm a dork. But yeah, and so, honestly, by the time Halloween gets there, I've been so knee deep in it that I'm like, okay, this is why I stay home and I give out candy to the kids.
Yeah.
Last year was pretty awesome. I always do a big thing for the kids because I live in a neighborhood. I'm near 3 schools. So, the kids all walk by my house every day, which is funny because they all tell me I've never noticed this house until Halloween. Thank you or spell. Um, so I put a bunch of inflatables up, and then I have it's a blow up coffin. It's about 4 feet tall, but I
Nice.
lay it out and I put all the candy in there. And then I separate it, because there's kids with allergies to stuff. I separate it out, have the kids come up. I have like a little stand where they can take cute pictures with for their parents. And last year, we ended up having a gaggle of teenagers come and they were just kind of chatting and they ended up staying for like almost 2 hours. And at one point, I was like, I'm sure have other friends and things you want to do. And they said, honestly, it's just nice to talk to adults who like don't treat us as kids. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. I mean, we had some really deep conversations. It was wonderful. And I love that made me feel good because that shows that like I am creating a nice safe space for kids to have something educational as well as safe to do
Yeah,
where
yeah.
they're in a fun environment. I've got lights everywhere and the inflatables and I have an 8 foot carnivorous plant flower inflatable. It's really fun.
Dad.
I'll send some pictures. You'll
Yeah.
understand.
I mean, this is the first. Well, we put a few decorations up last year because I say where I live, our like estate where we live, neighborhood, whatever you want to call it. There is a lot of kids around here, including my own now, and so we very much last minute decided to decorate the house. So then I thought straight away I was like, no, we need to do it properly next year. So like now I've got a massive spider web on the front of the house. I've got lights all over the windows. I've got a little ghost skeleton prisoner type of thing in the house, and whenever you walk past it, he sticks his head out the bars screaming, "Let me out." Yeah, that's cool.
How fun. Oh,
Yeah.
that's fun. I have people who have moved from my neighborhood, and they literally drive over. Things will calm down like around 8:30 at night, but
Mm.
I'm staying out there until 10 because 9:15 comes and here comes all these minivans, and these kids will come out and they'll say, "We drove all the way," some of them drove like 40 minutes just to come back and say hi. Because they
Jesus.
like my I know, but it makes my heart warm because I'd rather people have good memories of their Halloweens
Mm.
than, just someone stole their candy or they got in trouble or great, they get a bunch of candy and they're not gonna eat it,
Yeah.
type thing. So at least it's fun.
And commitment on their half as well.
Very much so, and I'm very
Yeah.
honored for that. So is no small feat, especially on Halloween. Because I don't know about you, but I
Mm.
don't wanna drive when kids are trick or treating. That always freaked me out.
Yeah.
If it falls on a weekday and you have to, like, drive home when it's dark, and
Mm.
some of these kids start early. I have kids start at, like, 2 in the afternoon. I'm like, "You just got off school. I'm hitting here first." Like, "Alright."
It was, it's a Friday this year, isn't it? I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
so I know
Oh,
it's gonna be
that's gonna be
lit.
fun for me. Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna
gonna be fun
be
for me.
so excited. I'm just taking the day off at this point, you know?
Mm. Yeah, well,
I have
that's the argument everyone I've got at work is gonna have
a
because I decide who works and when, so and
nice.
normally I always work all day on a Friday, so does it make me a dick now if I give myself the day off and make other people work it?
Or work a half day, but
Yeah, true, I could do,
close
yeah.
the business early.
God.
The fun stuff about it though is for me, it's all about spreading light into the darkness,
Mm.
right? And so, you could probably see my house from space at this point with the amount of lights and stuff that I have up because we just added more. But I do that because that's also, I carve my pumpkins days in advance. I have a whole thing. All my nieces, nephews, and godchildren come. We carve pumpkins and then we put them all up on the stoop and we light them up and then wait for Halloween, and I have my pumpkins going for 4 days straight at night. And so I will actually get like electric tea lights
Mm.
now. I'm smart now. I used to have to go out and keep lighting the candles over and over, but then it was get windy. It's too much. But I do that because during that time of year, being that the veil is so thin, and being that I am a beacon of light, there are some wayward things that will sometimes find their way here. And I don't mind working with them and helping them do whatever they need to do or go wherever they need to go, unless they want to cause issues.
Nice.
Not too much messes with me, but
Mm.
occasionally it will try. And I don't have time for that. So
So, why 4 days? Is there a reason for that?
it's not a 1-day holiday. The 4 days are really when the veil is, well, what's left of the veil right now.
Mm.
We used to have a full veil, not anymore. But what's left of the veil, the few scrappy little pieces are basically gone. I've been talking about the fact that in 2022, Halloween of 2022, the veil came down and it never went back up.
Nice.
And so I thought, okay, let's give this a month or two. Normally in November, it starts going back up. And it just wasn't. It was gauzy, maybe is a good word for it, but it wasn't the full. And so I started speaking about this publicly in January of 2023. Spirit, so you can use the word God, universe, whatever word you want to use. I call it source, right? Spirit is the action of source. It's source and action. So spirit basically advised me, hey, like you need to start warning people of this because things are about to ramp up in a way that we're not exactly 100% prepared for. Not everyone, anyway. And so I did. And I've been watching it. And I mean, honestly, can you say that the world is any kind of normal? No. The
Nope.
amount of stuff that we're seeing in the skies, the amount of peep throughs, I don't listen to a lot of cryptid stuff, but what I hear
Mm.
from people who do is there's a lot more cryptid sightings now. In the past week alone, I've had, I mean, we're talking double digits of people those were my skeptics, my diehard skeptics. Never had anything weird happen to them, no spiritual experiences. Most of them atheists, couldn't care less. I mean, I've gotten phone calls and messages of them just freaked out, and not because something happened that they couldn't explain, but because something happened and they just got a download of information and they're
Mm.
like, oh my God, I'm like having the most abrupt spiritual awakening. And I'm like, oh, Okay. So it's happening more and more. And knowing that it's happening more and more, I think you're going to see things within our world view shift. And you're going to see a lot of the old guard that wants to stay staunch in their ways kind of dig their heels in. But we're coming to a point where they're not going to be able to stay on that shaky foundation that was based on untruths, shall we say.
What? So, I mean, well, you might, well, tell me if I'm wrong here. So, are you sort of thinking like at some point, basically, people aren't going to be able to question things anymore? Yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard or noticed a lot more people reporting they're seeing things out of the corner of their eyes?
Mm,
Experiences, people are feeling things, people are having intense dreams that they've never dreamt like that before, like they were there.
now I think about it, yeah, not so much with the dreams, but people have definitely told me a lot more like experiences people have had. Like literally today, one of my friends from work literally telling me about how they've had like cupboard doors open and everything in the house and stuff like that. And I was, me being me, trying to scare them, like, definitely a poltergeist. That I was like, "Yous are all going to die."
Super helpful friend. Thank you so much.
Well, I get bored sometimes at work.
You know,
Mm,
so I am in a paranormal investigative group, and
mm,
I'm the lead psychic expert, whatever my title is. I don't know. I wear a lot of hats in this world. So I am a skeptic at heart. I was raised to do that because sometimes a curtain blowing is because someone left the window open,
yeah.
right? I mean, it doesn't mean, but at the same aspect, I also know that everything happens for a reason.
Mm,
So, there's this duality that's always going there, that I'm always trying to look at things logically. I also, don't want to be completely chasing any little thing that happens like it's something huge when it could be an electrical short, or it could be a plumbing issue, or it could be, like I said, someone left the window open, or there's a
mhm.
crack or something like that. That being said, I mean, I'm even having an uptick of stuff. And let me explain this. With my gifts and how I was raised and who I am and where I come from, my normal day is probably like 12 other people who have had these one-off experiences, right? That are life-changing. That's my normal on the
Right.
daily. So I kind of have a baseline. There are days when the activity is weirder than normal, or suddenly things are way different than they normally are. When I have a day when nothing weird happens, that's when I get weirded out. Right?
Yeah. That
I'm
makes
just,
sense.
hey, hey, hey. So I have these tea lights, little electric tea lights, and I have three of them in the living room. They're spread out so they're not close to one another, and they're actually on other items. One of them is on a crow. It hangs like from its mouth. Another one is in this beautiful little quartz crystal, like tea light holder, I guess. And
Mhm.
then the other one is in this beautiful sculpture that kind of looks like death, basically. But I want you to think of, oh my gosh, the Headless Horseman
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
old Disney cartoon. Remember when he
Mhm,
was standing there against the full moon and his capes are kind of billowing?
mhm.
It looks like that. And so I
Right.
put a tea light inside of it. So basically, like it lights up from within. Okay. So the first time it happens, my mom's over, we're watching something, and the remote for these things is in a box across the room. So we're the only two people in the house at the time, besides the animals who are all with me. And all of a sudden, the tea light on the crow turns on. And I'm like, well, that's odd. It's across the room. The remote is where no one's at. I thought, okay, whatever. I don't know. They're new tea lights, who knows? And then I started noticing that they would only turn on by themselves when we were discussing certain things. And it was almost like spirit giving me a ding, 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 Richie, pay attention. And so then all of a sudden, the one in the quartz thing turned on. And then the crow and the quartz would turn on together, and then they'd flash, which they don't do, and then turn off. The only one that has never turned on by itself is the one in the statue. And I have a feeling I know why, because if that one turns on, that means something big's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely odd because like so I have a little catchphrase through doing this. I've developed my own little catchphrase now where I say that I believe in things, but I don't know what I believe in, if that makes
That
any sort of
works.
sense.
Yeah, totally.
But through doing this as well and speaking to lots of people about like coincidences and things like that, and how obviously there are coincidences in the world, obviously. But stuff like that, it's too much for that stuff like that to be a coincidence. Like you said, the fact if it was just one, then maybe. The fact that it's two is weird, and I don't know. That's
Well, and they're
bizarre.
spaced out,
Yeah.
and it's not like because I'm in a two-story, so they're
Oh.
downstairs. I have never once, like, woken up in the morning and come downstairs and they've been on.
Mm.
It's only when I'm sitting there talking about something specific that they randomly turn on. And I mean, I have to physically get up, walk 5 feet, go open a box, dig through all the stuff, and then grab the remote, turn the remote on to turn them off. I have switched them out thinking maybe they're faulty. Nope. So I've put it that's the only reason I'll talk about it is because I've put it through all these different measures.
Yeah.
And that is something small. I mean, honestly, like a tea light candle turning on in my house, like that's kind of like the least of my problems at this point. It's great. That's fine. So the reason I'm sharing this though is because there might be people in your audience out there listening who have experiences that they seem like one-offs. You do the investigation, you're like, okay, that's weird. So start putting together the patterns and take a look, because eventually you're going to see this is trying to give me a heads up to something. So one day, again, spirits come and go in my house all the time. The stuff's always moving. I have a neighbor. She's a little teenager, and I have her come over and we do art, right? And she's from a very devout Christian family. None of this stuff is talked about, from another culture completely. This stuff really isn't in her purview. And the amount of times we'll be just quietly doing art and something will just randomly fall or just like careen across the room. And
Mm.
she'll just stop and she just will look at me and I'll be like, it's okay. And she's like, all right. And then we just keep going. She's not scared. But again, kids react to how you react, right? So if
Yeah.
I freaked out, she would probably freak out. But because I'm like, it's normal, it's fine. She's just
Mm.
accepted it. So the reason I bring all this up is because one day I was getting all these signs. I knew I needed to work on something and this whole thing was happening. And it was so overwhelming for me with all these different things that, and I don't recommend doing this, by the way, but I got really, really frustrated. And I said out loud, God, if you could just put this in an email, this would be so much easier. Listen, I'm a human being, right? So like I was frustrated. So 4 hours later, I get an email. Hey, JJ, God has something to tell you. And I'm like, what? And it's the email address is literally god@god.com. And I'm like, I'm confused. Okay. And I look it up, I click on the thing to make it open. And it
Mm.
was the exact answer to what I needed. Like it was exactly 100% what I needed to hear to make everything make sense. And so now I get these random emails. Sometimes I get none. Sometimes I get 3 or 4 a week. So it's not like a timed service. It's this very random thing. And the funniest part is I've looked this up to try and find out, am I on a mailing list or did I get on a subscription? There's no unsubscribe button. It literally just has, my name, and then it's not even on Bible verses in it. It's just, hey, God has a message for you. And then it will just give me this message that makes everything make sense suddenly. So you can ask Spirit if you're getting overwhelmed, you're getting confused, and things are just like way too much. You can ask, hey, can you make it make sense for me?
Mm.
And sometimes that will come in a dream. Sometimes, you might get lucky enough to get an email from God. Who knows?
You could probably tell from my face there, that is one of the most, what word do I use here? Bizarre things I've ever heard.
Yep, that's kind of how I felt, but I love
Mm.
it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm very appreciative because
I've got in my head, have you seen the film Bruce Almighty?
yes,
Yeah, I've just got that scene in my head when he's answering all the prayers on his
yeah,
computer. That's all I
so
can
many
see
times.
in my head. That is crazy.
Well, I before this, I had the 3 rule. right? So unless it happened 3 times, I wouldn't pay attention. Because again, there's so many things in and out. I've got my spirit team. I've got people who are stopping by. I work with so many people. Sometimes their spirit people are coming by, and it's a lot, right? So this is my life. I'm talking about this and I'm like thinking, what would the average person think? That's a lot. It is. So the reason I share this is because it can get very overwhelming. So I basically said, that's it. Unless it happens 3 times, I'm not paying attention to these small little one-off things because sometimes I'm chasing my tail. So I ended up getting in a car accident. It was very weird. I'm at a red light. Literally, this guy came out of the other lane and just aimed for me and just hit me and then started driving up the side of my car. It made no sense. I turned around, locked eyes with him. He put it in reverse, reversed into oncoming traffic, then put it back into drive, and then drove at me again. Thankfully, I just honked my horn and the light turned green, so I was able to kind of move so he wouldn't hit me again, right? But hit me in the rear passenger side. Okay, it happened. And it happened on June 6th, 6/6, right? So I thought, okay, there's a message in there, not quite clear exactly what that means, but well, it's an accident. It happens. My neighbor, who we share a driveway, a month later gets into the exact accident. She's at a red light. Someone comes out of nowhere, literally aims for her, hits her in the same spot. Okay. And now I'm like, okay, that's 2. So what do her and I have in common? Okay, well, this, that. All right. But still, it's not 3. Accidents happen, right? So my mom comes to visit and she's parked in front of my house. Now, the rear passenger of her car is closest to my house, the sidewalk. So it's not exposed to the road. So if she was going to get hit, someone would hit the driver's side of her car, right? We go, I go get her when she comes and helps her carry everything in. The car's fine. She goes to leave. I walk her out and I'm like, Mom, what happened to your car? The rear passenger side of her car, someone hit. In order to have done that, someone would have to have driven into her car and up on the sidewalk. It doesn't even make sense. And they didn't leave a note. So that was kind of rude. But, I'm thinking of this and I'm like, okay, so my neighbor and I share a driveway. My mom is literally at my house and this happens to her. And there's no sensical reason of how this could even happen. Especially because there's also a fence there. So, and no one hit the fence. So how did this happen? And then I'm like, oh, my dumb 3 time rule. Obviously, I need to change that rule because I don't need 3 car accidents happening again to everyone. So, just be mindful if you're going to put limits on things, be mindful of what potential ramifications could happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think for smaller things, the free rule can work, definitely. But like you say, for much bigger and more dangerous things like that, then yeah, maybe go to 2.
Yeah, I need to put an asterisk at the end of my my rule. I need to amend that a bit.
Also, you've scared me
Hey,
because I'm not cold.
you're welcome.
No, I don't like that. That's weird.
So for your audience, before we started recording, I asked if I could protect not only he and I, but also this episode so that if we're talking about some dark stuff, which we will be and have, that nothing bleeds out into the audience. And so in order to do that, I basically just astral project over to him. I put him in a nice little bubble and then bubble the episode and keep the energy in. But typically when I do that, you will get warm. And he had the heater on before we started recording and turned it off because it was too noisy. And now he just realized he's warm.
I've realized because I don't know whether you'll have noticed or if anyone watching has noticed, but every so often I've been looking up because it is windy as shit outside because we're in the middle of a storm. And like I say, it's freezing cold and the door keeps moving and everything. And I'm I've just been thinking to myself then, why aren't my legs cold? Yeah, that is.
Well, and it's what, 10 p.m. your time too? So it's night.
Yeah, nearly 10 o'clock. Oh, that's weird. There's something with just when we can talk about this briefly because it's always, I say this all the time, confused and fascinated me. So astral project, can't even say it.
Okay, astral projection.
That's the one. Yeah. How? What's all that about?
That's a long conversation, bud.
All right. Well, a brief version of it? Like, I don't. What is it? So can you then? I don't, because I've heard people say that they can do it, and then so like you've said that obviously you've like astral projected here. Like, could you like
Mhm.
see in here then?
Yeah, that's why I told you. It was a small area with a lot of stuff.
I don't want to make you feel like like I'm poking you with
I
a
feel
stick.
like
Then
everyone puts me on the spot when we talk about this, so, yeah.
I don't know. I really want you to tell me something that's in here.
The mask on the wall behind you?
Yeah, but you
Or
can
in
see
front of
that.
you, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can see that though.
No, not behind you, sorry, in front of you.
It's on the wall. There's my mask on the floor, but I had that earlier. There isn't one on the wall.
Okay, look straight ahead,
Yeah.
and then look to your I'm gonna, that direction?
So my left.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then look down a little bit. Not on the
Yeah.
floor,
Right.
right around there. Do you see that? Is that a picture?
No, there's nothing there. Did you mean this? Yeah, but there's nothing.
I can barely even see that. That looks like a planet.
That's all. You're telling me to look. That's all there is.
Okay, I don't wanna freak you out. Okay, well, let me pop
No.
back over again because 'cause I'm trying to do this from memory. Yeah,
Don't
I'm
tell me
not,
there's
like,
weird.
physically with you at this moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you gonna get scared? Don't get scared.
It depends if you. I don't know, because like, I was like looking for a face or something in the wall, and I was like, now I'm scared.
Yeah, well, there's just, like, a little creature there. Maybe it's not a mask. Sorry, but okay, we coexist with so many different things that I think if the average human really understood how many things we coexist with, they would be like,
Hmm.
"Whoa."
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Long as it's not going to do anything,
Okay,
then it can
so
stay there.
he likes you, actually. He's a little fascinated by what you do.
Okay, that's all. That's
He's about
okay then.
2 feet tall, brown. You don't wanna hear any more about him? Or are you freaked out?
No, I kind of do.
So he's about 2 feet tall, he's brown. He's got
Right.
kind of a lighter middle of his tummy. It's a lighter I wouldn't say it's white, but it's like a light beige.
Right.
And then he's kinda got, like, black hair that comes, like, straight out like this to the sides, but not
Mm.
on top. Like, he's not bald on top, it's just the hair just goes to the sides.
Mhm.
He's like a little I mean, you'd call him part of the Fae. He's not an elemental. I don't know what he is, to be honest. I mean, you
Fair
have
enough.
2 house elves in your house, but everyone does. Like, we all have tons of stuff that lives with us.
So what's a
You keep
house elf?
freezing on me, so I'm freaked out.
No, because the only house elf I know of is the ones off Harry Potter.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. Apparently, I really need to watch Harry Potter because everyone keeps bringing it up to me lately, and I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Okay, well, I can show you. I have a house. I have a
I'm
house
gonna
elf
put
in
it on my
here.
list. Is that what I was thinking I was looking at? Show me.
Could be actually. Hang on. I've just thought.
For the audience, I'm just gonna admit I'm really, really bad with directions.
No, but I've just thought because of the way you described it and the colours you said. Was it that?
Is the belly lighter?
Well, I mean, normally it has that on it.
A little bit thicker than that and a little more hairy.
Fair enough. But that's a house elf.
And the hair looked black. That's one type of house elf.
It's called Dobby. Right. Fair enough. That was an experience. Right then. So we definitely got a bit sidetracked there and went off on a little bit of a tangent. So where were we?
You know,
Yeah.
I'm
Right. So,
Did you still want me to hop back over?
kind of, because I've got a lot of other things in here, and like I say, I don't want to make you feel like a performing monkey sort of thing. But if you could tell me something that was like on this shelf here, it would be cool as fuck.
Why do you guys keep asking me to look at things that I have no clue what these are? The amount of research it's going to take me to figure out like how to describe half of these things. And watch, I'm going to watch Harry Potter once and I'm going to understand all of it all of a sudden. I want to say it's a hobbit. I don't is that a hobbit? The thing from Lord of the Rings? It looks like a
No.
foot, like a hobbit foot. Am I looking at whatever that thing's foot was? The thing you showed?
Yeah. Well, it's got big feet. I mean, I suppose you could say it's a little bit like Hobbit's feet.
What are your white flowers in the garden behind the shed? That makes 2 of us. Are they camellias?
No idea. I don't go behind the shed.
Might be a good time to try. I mean, not right now while we're recording. Well, here, we'll do more of that later when I'm less
Yeah.
tired. And
Yeah.
I've apparently watched Harry Potter and every other thing that people need me to watch.
No, but like I don't know. There's something really no, because that's not scary. It's just like to me that is like cool as fuck that you can do that sort of thing. Like, I don't know.
I mean, okay, so I just call it astral projection because it's an easier word. What
Right.
I do technically, because I can manipulate things, I can move through space and time
Mm.
in a location. It's a little bit different. It's almost like a hybrid of remote viewing and astral projection, and then there's another word in there that I don't even know if it's existing yet. But basically, like when I'm there, I'm still here, obviously, in my physical
Mm.
body, but I'm there and I can manipulate things if needed. So I can do energy work with you, which is why you're warm, right? And I
Mhm.
can bubble. The other reason why I bubble is because if something negative were trying to get into you while we were doing this, I'm keeping it out, but I'm also able to sense what it is and why it's trying to come in so that afterwards I can warn you.
Right.
Most of the energy work and the clearings that I do remotely. Saves a ton on gas and travel fees, which I'm very grateful for. But like, I'm able to also rummage around in things. So I know you know Tommy Cullum
Yeah, yeah.
from the Let's Get Freaky podcast. So I've been to his house a lot, been in his shed, been begging him to clean out his shed actually, because there's something in there that's really, really exciting. So Tommy, if you hear this, but even in his place, you also have to understand, like, I've only been exposed to what I've been exposed to. So he had this big thing in his kitchen. And I was like, I'm going to have to like draw this. And I'm Googling, like, trying to figure out what you even call this thing because your furniture is different. And now that people can get furniture from all over the world because of the wonderful internet, I
Mm.
mean, especially when it comes to some of the really weird stuff, like the real fancy schmancy chairs that like don't really look like chairs. And I'm like, what is that? Yeah. And then I don't want to be mean and like, I'll call things toys, but in reality, someone's like, no, it's an action figure. And I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah, that's a
sorry.
toy.
My apologies. But yeah, so, the other beneficial thing of it is like, let's say you had a dream and you
Mm.
know that you woke up from the dream and you were panicked and you were having a nightmare, but you don't know what it is. And it's been bugging you, right? I can actually go through your memories to that dream. And then I can see that dream through your eye. I can also do that with experiences. So I had someone recently who every time they drove this certain commute, they would hit this one place and they would feel like they just were gone and they could not figure out why. So I basically went through their mind, was in the car with them, watched them and would see it happen. And then I went into their mind when it would happen a couple different times in order to figure out what was happening in that area of why they were just pulled.
Mm.
And then we got down to the sort of it. So, I mean, I am a bit of a detective. Like if you really want something, to know something, like I will find the answer. There are sometimes though, it doesn't make sense or it's not important enough. I'm very utilitarian. So unless it makes sense and it's important to do it, I don't see the purpose in doing it, which is why I normally like I don't do party tricks normally. If you
Mm.
tell me or say like, "Hey, I'd really want you to demonstrate XYZ on the show," not a problem. That's fine. As long as I'm prepared. But for the most part, it's like, my one of my best friends will always say, "I lost my keys. Where are they?" And I'm like, "Oh, great. Very good at finding people's keys."
So, like the abilities and stuff that you have, then did you like have to like practice them to like get better at them, get good at them and stuff, or was it just you could sort of just do it?
I've always just been able to do it, and
Mm.
everything came when I needed to use it.
Right.
So I wasn't raised with the word can't.
Mm.
So I was never told that you couldn't do something.
Mm.
So I never had those filters and those mind blocks in place that I had to tear down. A lot of people do, right? A lot of people,
Mm.
oh, that's your imaginary friend when you're a kid. And so they were talking to spirits the whole time, and then they forget. So they put these walls and these filters up. So then when they get older and they want to open back up, then we got to remove them all back down. It's like building a house over and over. Stop it. But that being said, I was also taught, because I come from such a long line of people like me, that there are responsibilities and there are consequences. And
Mm.
number one is consent, consent, consent. If I don't have consent, I'm not going to come snooping around unless there is an implied agreement, which I have with some people who will be like, hey, if you sense anything, like pop over. And I have a few people that I have that with at my house. Because, I mean, just based on being me alone, not only is my house bubbled, but also like guarded, and I have things in place so that if anyone tried to come here with negative intentions, there are going to be repercussions to them. I tried to make it as kind as I can. You know, it's not like, oh, you're going to come here and die, right? But there are pretty severe consequences. And there are people who have tried and have found out. And then I've told them, well, A, I told you never to do that. But also B, like, have fun washing that out of your clothes after a couple days,
Yeah.
you know? So consent is key. The other thing too is it has to serve a purpose. So I know like a lot of people want to know, oh, what happened in a past life? Why do you need to know? Like, unless there's a healing journey that it's going to help with, or it's going to help you figure, you know, an action or a behavior out, or why you keep getting assigned for whatever, it really doesn't serve a purpose. I mean, again, if you were a prince in a past life, let's say you were a prince of Mumbai, right? And you were one of the richest men in the world at one point. Does that pay your rent right now? No.
Yeah, true. True.
I mean, am
It'd
I
be
supposed to
interesting
treat
to
you
know
different?
though.
No. It is interesting, but
Yeah.
you know, so is self-discovery as to why you do little things, you know, here. Like, why did you become a chef? Why do you love that so much? Why do you like working with food? Energetically, you're called to it, right? You want to work with food. I have gone to restaurants that, you know, 5 stars, everyone's told me, oh my God, you've got to go. The food is amazing. We showed up. I put my hand on the door handle and I said, we have to leave. I'm not eating here. And they're like, why? And I said, the chef's in a really bad mood and I'm not eating with that vibration because I'm putting that in my body. So as a chef,
Oh,
you
you'd never
have a
want to come
huge
to my place
responsibility.
then.
Oh no, are you like the Gordon Ramsay?
Little bit.
But are
I
you
can be.
really in a bad mood or do you just have really high standards? There's a difference.
No, my problem is stupid people.
Hey, I left that in the shed for you.
Yes, exactly.
I'm sorry about that, by the way. Maybe we need to remove that.
That's what puts me in a bad mood is when people ask me stupid questions, which happens a lot.
There are no stupid questions. There are stupid answers.
No. There is stupid questions, and I've got proof.
I mean, I'm trying to be nice, right? For the dear people. There's a lot of people though that also just don't want to. If they could have someone else just do everything for them, they would. And unfortunately, they're in the workforce. So, you know, we get to deal with them different capacities, but
You mentioned there, like, so like kids being told or kids saying it was like, you know, imaginary friends and stuff.
Mhm.
So apparently I used to have a lot of imaginary friends that I used to sit in my bedroom and talk to.
Mhm.
But my mum, she's very much into like mediumship and stuff, and she's always said that it wasn't imaginary friends, that I was speaking to people that weren't there.
Yes.
Best way I can say it.
Do you remember
And
Charlie?
no,
Ask your mom if she remembers Charlie when you would talk to Charlie.
right, that's good. Right, fair enough.
Like a fun discussion with mom about that.
I love this, but it's also freaking me out a bit at the same time. But I really like it. It's cool. But like,
I'm good at that.
I always say it's weird because I can remember doing it. Like I can remember as clear as day as doing it, but I can never remember anything that was said. Does that make any sort of sense?
Yeah, that's very common, actually, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I've got the strongest memories ever of literally like sat on my bed, like just having a full blown conversation, but couldn't tell you a word that was said. It's really weird. It really annoys me at the same time.
That's why
'Cause I wish I could
it's
remember.
really good in those situations. Yeah, I mean, especially, you know, your mom will remember because there were certain conversations you would talk to her about, which is why I said ask your mom. I'll just call them a friend. They're kind of family at the same time, but that crossover always happens with me. So
Hmm.
when she was young, she would be happily playing in her room, and her mom just thought, oh, she's playing with her dolls because she was like full blown conversations. And her mom actually walked in one time because she wasn't responding to come down to dinner and stopped before she walked in because she started hearing the name that the daughter was saying and the things the daughter was saying. And she was like,
Right.
first of all, she's like 3 and we have never talked to her about this. And we've never brought that name up in the house. And also, what is she saying? So she listens for a little bit, walks in and gets her, and then says, oh, you know, were you talking to your dollies? And she goes, no, I was talking with my sister, and gives the name. And her mom blinks, and her mom's like, you don't have a sister. And she's like, yeah, I did. I had a sister. She just doesn't live with us anymore, but she comes and visits." And the mom's like, "No, no, you don't." And she's like, Yes, I do." And like, this 3-year-old's arguing with mom. Like, come to find out, the father had been married before he got with that mother and had a little girl who died when she was 5 years old with that specific name. And it was what actually
Mm.
caused that marriage to break up. And then he met his new wife, and then they had the 2 kids, right? A boy and a girl. Well, it was something that when they got married, he said the grief was so hard for him, he never wanted to hear that name, and they did not wanna tell the kids about that previous daughter until they were well over 18 and he could handle it or he was dead, basically. So the fact that this little girl at 3 years old was saying, "This is my sister, here's her name, and she doesn't live with us anymore, she just comes to visit." So kids know. I had all sorts of things that I talked to when I was a kid.
Mm.
One of them was a
Yeah,
stegosaurus,
like
by the
I'm
way.
just nice. That is
Yes.
cool. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna like properly freak me out like when my son starts talking and stuff, if he's gonna start doing all this.
Oh,
I've just got images
100%.
going upstairs and he's in his bedroom having full blown conversations with people, and then
You
I
know,
walk in and he's like, "Who are you talking to?" And he'll just like point to the corner or something, and I'll just be like, "Right, we're moving."
my hope and prayer for you is that you will all start opening up spiritually to the point where you don't get afraid, you get curious, and you will develop that within him so that he's not raised with any blocks or filters that he has to overcome later in life. The children that are coming in, the past, I want to say about past 15 years, the kids that are coming
Mm,
through, they're all well, first of all, everyone has gifts, but these kids are coming in and like their gifts are like full blown.
yeah.
The parents can kind of tramp them down as much as they want to, but the kids are still accessing the information. And it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, because he always looks behind us and laughs at stuff that isn't there. And the
Mhm.
weird thing is, my mum told me that my granddad and my wife's brother always come to our house, which I don't have a problem with. But like, let us know.
They are. That's why your son's laughing and pointing.
Yeah, no, yeah, but that's letting him know. I like somehow.
Well, then open yourself up so that you feel it. So when you feel the dead, do you get cold or do you get hot? I personally get
Hmm.
frigid cold, but I
I
know
don't
some
know.
people that get warm.
I don't know, to be honest. I've never really thought about it at the time.
Okay.
I don't know if
So
that's
if
weird.
you sensed me as warm,
Yeah,
I have a feeling then that when you sense the dead, you will sense them as cool, like
right.
cold.
Yeah, yeah.
So if all of a sudden a part of your body gets really, really cold, even if it's just a short, time, that's usually when the dead are around.
Fair enough. The door just properly moved then, and I shit myself.
I love it.
Yeah. But that's the thing, like, it's because I'm, like, somewhere in the middle of, like, curious and also a bit freaked out at the same time with it all, like,
But why are
I'd
you
love to
freaked out? Why?
I don't know, because it goes back to my little catchphrase of, like, that I believe in things, but I don't know what I believe in, because there's still that part of me that in my head that tells me, like, that shouldn't happen. Like,
But it's
if someone
happening everywhere and it believes in you.
Yeah, no, but that's what I mean, like, that's the problem. There's still something back here in my head telling me that, like, they're dead, I can't talk to them anymore.
You can. They're just
Yeah, I
not
know,
gonna
but
talk back the way that I am.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
unless you really wanna become a medium, I don't recommend that, but to each their own. Mediumship can be very overwhelming. I know some people that are, like, they're very strong mediums, that is, like, their main thing,
Mm,
and honestly, with most of them, the conversations that we've had, it's very tough, especially if there are no parameters built because, the dead are just popping up constantly. That would drive me nuts. I don't want
yeah.
people coming to my house without letting me know they're coming in advance. I could not
Mm.
imagine having a whole bunch of dead people just popping by. Oh, no.
Yeah, no, could sack that. So what would be the best way for me to go about it then?
Well, I have a very small YouTube channel. I never ask anyone to
Mm,
like or subscribe, but a lot of the knowledge that I have, I've put into those videos. They're all listen only. I think there's only 1 or 2 that you can actually like look at and there'll be something for you to see. You can
mm,
listen to some of that. Some of it also is whatever starts really striking your fancy and like that you really want to get interested in, start listening about it.
right.
We have the internet. There's a ton of content out there. And it
Mm.
also really depends on what feels right to you. And I would say for anyone in your position that you would like it, you want to get into it, but you're still a little bit scared, take a moment and ask yourself, where is the fear coming from? Is it because you don't understand it, or is it because you're not in control? And if the answer is the second one, that's when you need to have, the phrase come to Jesus with yourself, that we're not in control. There's a
Mm.
lot happening around us all the time that we're not in control of. We can control how we react to it, but we
Mhm.
can't control what's happening. I mean, look at the world in large. Like, now, trust me, there are days I want to be able to control things just so I can like clean up the mess, right? But also, those things all have to happen because we're playing out on a much grander scheme. Like, we're a little dot in a bigger bubble within a bubble within a bubble within a, like there's so many layers to our existence. And then you have all the spiritual stuff on top, and it can get a little overwhelming. But it's also amazing and so beautiful to know that we are such connected to so many beautiful things. And even if it's the tiniest, teeniest little part that we have to play, it's like a drip in a pond, right? It creates ripples that go out. And all of us are little drips in the pond. So
Mm.
have those moments with yourself where you start to get a little more comfortable with that. Honestly, it really starts easing up a lot of the stress in your life when you realize, like, hey, stuff's gonna happen. I
Yeah.
mean, at your work, you see it all the time. Shit happens. And sometimes, yes, it could have been prevented, but it's happening. So it doesn't matter if it could have been prevented when you need to deal with it now. If someone's bleeding all over the place, put a damn tourniquet on it. Talk
Mhm.
about knife safety maybe before people get hired and after. But, in the middle of it, like, just fix the issue. So, and then just start paying attention. This is the biggest thing that I have been seeing from people who want to wake up is, "Well, I have these experiences, I have these things happen, but like I'm not paying attention." Pay attention.
Mm.
When you're walking to bed, be mindful of what are you seeing out of the corners of your eyes. Or if you're dreaming, write your dreams down in the morning. Dreams are an amazing way to get so much information. It's going to be a little kooky at first because dreams always are. But then you'll get to the point where you're going to other realms in dreams.
Yeah.
I just had one the other night.
See, I never remember my dreams.
You will.
I don't know if that's. I used to, and I used to have some really weird shit happening in my dreams. But God, I couldn't even tell you the last time I remembered one of my dreams.
Well, you will.
Mm.
You'll start if you want to.
I mean, it probably doesn't help that I don't sleep properly anymore because I mean I've got a kid who isn't even one yet. So well, he's one in 2 weeks. So
Bless you
when,
both.
when
Happy birthday, buddy.
whenever they start sleeping, whenever he starts sleeping properly, then maybe I'll start dreaming again.
You can dream even in the short amount.
I know, but I never remember them. I don't know why.
You will.
It really annoys me because I used to love remembering my dreams because, like I say, a lot of weird stuff used to happen and it was cool.
Yeah.
And now I can never
But,
remember it.
if you ask to shut that part of yourself down because maybe it was
Mm.
overwhelming, you just have to allow yourself to open that back up again.
Well, I'll try that tonight. And if I wake up in the morning and remember my dream, I'm gonna message you.
I'll make it happen. I'll put my request in.
God.
Now that I've
Well,
thoroughly freaked you out.
no, you have, but in the best way. Like I've really, 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 really fucking enjoyed this.
Same.
But like we said, obviously it is getting late for me, so
It
I
is.
think for today, because if you're willing to, I'd love to speak to you again. Happy days, happy days.
We'll set up demonstrations next time.
Yes,
Let's really freak you out.
let's do it because it'll be for a start, it'll be funny, and two, part of me will enjoy it. So
Nice.
exactly. Do you want to let listeners know where they can find you?
Sure. It's JJRose777 across the board. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I also have a link tree. It's linktree.com/JJRose777. And thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun. And I look forward to freaking you out in the future.
No problem. Like I say, I've really enjoyed it. Like, apologies to any previous guests, but this is definitely one of my favourites. I'm not going to say it's my favourite because I don't want to
Oh,
offend anybody, but yeah, definitely one of my favourites so far.
thank you.
No problem. Right then, guys, so we shall leave it there for today. So thank you, as always, for listening. Go and follow our Instagram page at the Spooky Shed Podcast. If you don't, please do, because for some reason there's something weird going on over there, and we have lost a shit ton of followers at the minute. Don't know why. So please head over there if you don't and follow us. There's a link in the bio there for all the other socials that we still don't use, but they're there. So yeah, YouTube page is there, Patreon, merch store, all that sort of stuff. And we shall speak to you next time.